Welcome back to the channel. Today I would like to share with you ideas, 5 solid ideas that have been tried and tested that you can use to supplement your income, or if you're someone who's not working, then you can actually use this method so that you make a living out of it. So keep it here, karibu sana, and thank you for always watching the content that I put up on this channel. At this point, I'll also like to mention that I'm not a financial advisor, and I am just putting across points that have been well researched, and also part of the things that I'm going to mention today are things that I actually use to supplement my income. So keep it here so that you get to know exactly how practical these points are. Idea number 1 is a social media manager or a social media marketer. In this current world, you realize that a lot of things are happening through the internet and through social media. By social media, I mean platforms like Facebook, I mean platforms like Instagram, I mean platforms like TikTok, I mean platforms like, which is the other one? Social media platforms are quite a number. So you'll realize that companies or individuals who want to market their businesses to the public most of the time use these platforms to put across what they need to. And you'll realize that these people sometimes do not have the time. Or if it is a company, they may not have the time to manage their social media pages or their social media platforms that they use to advertise their company. And that is where you come in as a social media manager. As a social media manager, you must be someone who has some skills that I'm going to mention so that you are able to execute your job well. And once that is done, you are able to come into an agreement with the hiring company so that once you execute your duties, then you are going to be paid. So as a social media marketer, there are skills that you need to have. Number 1 is a writing skill. And you also need to be someone who is able to put across points in terms of stories, which means that you have to be a very good writer and you have to be a natural creative. And even if not natural, it means that you have to learn how to be creative so that you are able to see designs of images and how impactful this can be to the target audience, ability to analyze what works for an audience and what does. You know, there are some things that you can put across hoping that people will uptake very well, and it turns out to be the opposite. So for a good social media manager, you should be able to pick out these things once they are put across and seemingly they are not working, so that you don't keep doing the same things that are obviously not meeting the targets, that are obviously not meeting the objectives. Then you also need to be someone who is very flexible, because some of these pages are run 24/7. It means that your social media presence has to be up to 99.9 to 100%, so that you are able to answer to queries, you are able to comment on the audience comments, you are able to discuss anything else that may pop up. And so what are the roles of a social media manager? As a social media manager, you should be able to develop strategies for the said company. Also, you should also be able to set up campaigns, relevant campaigns, so that you are able to reach the target market in question. And then your other role is to boost engagement so that you are able to reply to comments. You are able to answer to queries according to the company's policies. And also another role is that you should be able to analyze data, because there's some kind of data that are usually generated from this kind of platforms. If you look at Facebook, there is a way you can analyze the data so that you are able to see your target audience. Are you meeting these objectives? And what is the target audience? Who are the people who come into contact with your adverts or your campaigns for that matter? You should also be able to analyze data in terms of other social media platforms. For example, if you're running a YouTube channel for a company, there is a section that is actually called analytics. So from this section, you are able to actually see the geographical distribution of your audience. You are able to tell the age of these people. You are able to tell for how long you kept people engaged by the kind of campaign or content that you put across, and so on and so forth. Aside from that, you should be able to report your findings to the stakeholders or the company in question, or even an individual. You know, there are people who are working, they're running businesses on social media and on the internet in general, and they are individuals. So you should be able to report your findings to these people, and those are the people that I call stakeholders. And then of course you should be able to monitor the social media platform trends, so that you are able to pick things that will be impactful for your campaigns and your future prospects in terms of managing the platform for your stakeholders. So if I give you an example, in Kenya we have this baby shop called Nila, and you'll realize that for Nila baby shop, most of the marketing is done by the owner, which is actually something that is worth noting, because now the brand is actually identified with the marketer and who is apparently the owner. But for other companies, you will realize that you may never really know who owns the company. And that is where your role as a social media marketer or a social media manager comes in, because you'll be doing these things in a faceless version, so that people don't exactly see who is running the show, but the show is run in a good way nonetheless. So what does research say? There's an article I was reading online that tells me that the demand for social media managers or social media marketers really risen in the recent past, especially after the pandemic, because most companies are now doing their business online. People realize that if you have a brick and mortar kind of a business, which has been the occurrence in the past, if pandemics or other such kind of natural occurrences should occur, then you are worst hit. Unlike businesses that are based on an online platform, business may keep running, because after all, you do not really need a physical shop for your business. And so that is why the need for social media managers has really risen, because even as much as people are running companies online, some of them do not have the time to run all the show, and not even the time alone. Some people don't have the expertise. So if you research very well and come up with very concrete ways you can work as a social media manager or a social media marketer, then this is something that you can do on the side. And if you have an 8 to 5 job, it does not have to interfere with this, because this is something that you can do in between. And especially after you've learned the skills, you can actually execute this in a very efficient manner. Then of course you are a go-between the potential customers and your stakeholders, or your employer, or the company that you are working for. And so that is just it. It is a traditionally you will be called a broker. Yeah, so you are an online broker and it fetches quite a good amount of money. And the best thing about it is that you can run several social media platforms at the same time. Yeah, so you earn from different employers, while at the same time you are running your main hustle. So that is idea number 1 that you can look into: a social media manager or a social media marketer. Number 2 business idea that is rather passive that you can do, especially on an online platform, is selling second-hand items online. Previously, if you wanted to do this kind of a job, you will need a shop, you will need licenses and business permits. But this one, now you are going to do it online. And what you need to do is simple. You just need to get to open a page on a social media platform like Facebook. Let me use Facebook for example. But of course, all the other media platforms can be used, because that is where you will open a page so that people can actually follow. And then from there, you advertise yourself so that you are a go-between people who want to sell second-hand items versus people who want to buy second-hand items. So what you need to do is that you advertise for people who want to sell their items but do not know necessarily where they can sell these items. And then of course, after identifying these people, you negotiate about the price that you're going to set for this second-hand item. For example, someone wants to dispose of a coach that they've used for probably a period of 3 months, which means that the coach is actually still in a fairly good state. So you decide on the amount. It has to be a second-hand price, because it is not new. It is something that has been used already. Then now you get clear images of this item and you upload it on the social media platform, let's say on your Facebook page. And of course, you need a catchy name that will let people know that you are dealing with second-hand items. The best thing about it is that you do not have to be where the item is. There is trust that you will form between yourself and the potential sellers, so that they take very clear images of the items and then they send to your phone. Then you will use these images to upload them on your platform. And then of course, after agreeing on the price, then you set the price so that people who read or who come into your page are able to read everything about the item that you post and the prices. Then now there is a percentage of money that is going to be cut off the item once it is sold. So this platform has both potential buyers and sellers, and then you are the go-between, so that the buyer may not be necessarily known. Only the item that they are selling will be posted on this forum. And in case they want to view the item, they are going to call your number so that you organize and go with them to the area where the viewing is going to take place. But I've seen other people running this kind of a business. They actually do not need to go where the item is being sold. You actually just made an agreement. You make an agreement with the seller so that anyone who wants to go can call your number, and then you link them up to where the item is. Once the item is sold, of course it will be sold on your platform and payment will be made to your number. Then now you slash off your amount, the commission, and you wire the rest of the amount to the seller. After that, the seller and the buyer will now organize on how the item should be transported or gotten by the person who bought it. I have seen someone run such a business online, and the risk is very minimal because you do not actually get to possess these items. The risk comes in where some of the items may not be known necessarily how they were procured. If some items were out of theft, then you will not be liable because, of course, you do not have them in your custody. That is the best part about it. Also, you are not going to incur expenditures like rent and other business permits that will otherwise be made if you are running a traditional brick and mortar business. Something else that you'll need to do so that your page grows faster is that you'll need to take shorter clips and you advertise them on the other types of social media platforms like Instagram, TikTok, and any other that may be applicable in your case, so that over time you'll build followers who will be able to see this as an easier option to getting second-hand items. In the current economy, things are quite expensive, and no one would actually want to go into incurring expenditures over something that they can get in a better shape at a fair price. So that is idea number 2. You can just start an online platform where you sell items second-hand. Idea number 3 that has been tried and tested, and it is actually something that I do on the side, is online writing. If you're someone who can do online writing jobs, then this one is for you. So the most favorable platform that I use in this case is what we call Upwork, and I'll actually show you how you can register and get to be someone who gets gigs on such a platform to write for people. Most of the time you'll have to identify yourself with the kind of writing that you are good at. If it is content or article creation, then you write exactly that on your profile, so that when potential employers want someone to write for them, then they'll be able to look into your profile and see exactly what you are able to do. The best thing about this is that if you have a laptop, or sometimes if you have your phone, but the best one is actually a laptop, because some of the writings may be very wordy and you may not get comfortable if you use your phone. So you only need internet connection and a laptop, and you're good to go. As soon as you've registered your details on the platform and you've submitted all the other details plus reading through their terms and conditions, then you are good to go as far as online writing is concerned on Upwork. I'm well aware that there are other platforms that you can use for content creation in terms of online writing, and amongst others that I've been able to hear about, though I've not worked with them, is Fiverr. And I'm sure there are many others. If you're someone who is doing this already, please give us a comment down below so that we are able to know how this one works for you. And it pays quite handsomely. Over time, if you build your profile, you will be able to interact with higher paying gigs. And if you pitch your work, then you are lucky enough to get it. You will be able to come into agreement with the hiring company. And then if your CV keeps growing, then you keep raising your, you keep raising your pay rate, which most of the time will depend on how experienced you are. And it is something that you state there so that anyone who is interested in hiring you is well aware that that is the match you are going to take for the kind of work that they need you to do for them. The best thing about Upwork is that Upwork itself works as a go between you and the hiring individual or the hiring company, such that if they hire you, they're going to deposit a certain amount of money in an account called escrow, and it stays there until you are able to finish the work and the hiring company is contented with it. So now there are no cases of you working on someone's work and then they're not paying you, because before they engage you, they will have deposited the said amount of money into the escrow account. And so in case they have complaints with your work, they're going to share, then you redo the work, and as soon as they're comfortable with the final draft, then now they take it and money is deposited into your account. I've been able to receive money from Upwork gigs that I did through my Mpesa. So that is the best part about it. As long as you've submitted these details beforehand, then now you are able to get your money as soon as you are done with the work. And the final idea that you can use is YouTube. YouTube. I know I'm not the best candidate to talk about YouTube, but I've been doing it for the past 5 months, and I don't know, just the joy in knowing that someday this channel will be monetized is what keeps me going. And then number 2, the very main reason why I keep doing this is that I love sharing information. In my other world, I would have been a teacher or a lecturer for that matter. I enjoy sharing information, especially if it is something that I'm very convinced that you really need to do very little for it to work. So now YouTube is another thing that I think someone can do. It is rather passive active, if I can call it that way, because you have to invest the hours. You have to invest in good research so that you are able to present things that are informative and quite engaging to your target audience. And as I said, I'm not the best candidate to talk about YouTube, but I think someday it will going to make sense. And even if it doesn't get to be monetized at some point, I'm very grateful that I have a platform where I can share information that I think is going to be impactful to people. And for that, I'm happy because I know that I'm making a difference. If the money comes, well and good. If it never comes, as long as I keep enjoying doing this, then I'll keep doing it. And if you want to do it for the money, so go ahead. If you think you have content that you can share with the world, open a YouTube channel and get the ball rolling. And so, with those 5 points, I come to the end of this edition. I'm very grateful. I don't know why you follow me, but because you do, I think there's something, and I'll keep doing it until you tell me stop. So goodbye till the next one.